First of all, welcome to the channel and thank you for stopping by. When time permits, please consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. It's been almost 1 year since the dream of the 490 adventure was snatched away. Around the same time, we started to see images coming out of India of a more off-road oriented bike with the 390 engine. Fast forward a few months, and we had footage of the bike in India, and it became apparent that it was a more off road focused 390. Think more along the lines of the 690 Enduro instead of the 890 Adventure. The footage showed a bike that's remarkably close to the prototype we've seen in the United States recently, less than a month from the official unveiling in EICMA. When I first saw the early prototype, I realized KTM was listening not to the adventure oriented rider, such as myself, who travel a significant distance on their 390, but they were instead listening to the owners who were really asking for a more off road adventure. I'd need a dedicated video to discuss this very, very large split between the 390 adventure community, so we won't get into that right now. However, I will say that KTM and Bajaj are disappointing both sides of the community. More recently, we have more photo leaks, we have a video leak, and that video shows two very similar versions of the bike, one stated to be the Adventure and the other stated to be an Enduro R version. Honestly, there's not that big a difference to my eyesight. Perhaps more will become apparent at the unveiling next month in Milan. What I'd like to do here is go over what I imagine is the very near final prototype, given how close we are to the unveiling, and share my thoughts as a long term 390 owner. If I was asked what the number one request 390 owners wanted in the next 390 or 490 adventure, it would be the 21-inch wheel we see here. Gone is the bug headlight of years past, and we have what's become much more popular recently, the stacked headlight. Personally, I think this is a great idea. It honestly looks more modern, and I've never met anyone who truly enjoyed the bug headlight. The new windscreen appears to be adapted from the 890 Adventure, and from what I'm hearing from 890 owners, this means you're going to need to add a spoiler to it. If not, replace it outright. The high fender looks to be very similar to the 790 and 890R fender, and in my experience, that's going to catch a lot of air on the highway. Moving on to the controls, the screen looks to be very different from both the existing 390 and the 2024 Duke, this one being square with huge bezels. The controls appear to be lifted directly from the 2024 Duke. However, looking at the left controls, we can see the bike has cruise control from the factory. Now, as a 390 owner with Viridian Cruise installed, I'm well aware that cruise control is magical. That said, KTM seems to have left behind their simple, out of the way, single lever cruise switch and gone with this new two switch system. And if you ask me, that switch at the bottom looks very exposed. Moving on to the right side, we can clearly see the Duke 390 frame hiding underneath these new slim fairings. The reuse of the Duke frame is not without compromises, as you would expect, and I have a few concerns. Noticeably, the rear brake reservoir and the coolant intake are very exposed. They're identical to the street bike. Now, I've broken not one, but two brake reservoirs that I've installed on my 390, and that one is significantly inset compared to this. The coolant intake is right where I have several dings on my bike as well. So if you're going to be riding rocky terrain like I do, I could see both of these being a potential problem. Using the Duke's frame also means using the Duke's exhaust placement, and it looks like no significant changes were made to the header. This means the pipe comes out quite a distance from the front of the engine. It actually looks like it sticks out farther than the existing 390 header before it wraps down and under the engine. And you can see that it ends in a decidedly road exhaust. Now, this might not be final. It's worth noting that the earlier prototypes did have an off road exhaust, but moved to this style in the shots from about 8 months ago. There will be a significant change from the Duke exhaust, however. The Duke has its resonator, that huge heavy box before the exhaust pipe, running down and below the swing arm, and we can see that is not the case here. Where there is an empty space next to the offset shock on the Duke, we now have a closed space on the 390. This leads me to suspect that there's going to be a new taller resonator and it's going to be sitting right next to the shock. It's worth mentioning that there's a theory amongst owners that a significant number of shocks have failed because the resonator is mounted too close to the shock. And on the new bike, it looks like it's going to be mounted even closer. The rear of the bike shows very little. Some grab handles, a plastic tail that's so large and ugly that it will sell tail tidy kits at a record speed, and of course, an 18-inch wheel. While I don't subscribe to the we need a 21/18 set of wheels on an adventure bike, the new size will make it easier for all of us to get every tire style we could want from Kyle Bradshaw. Link below. The left side of the bike shows nothing remarkable, though it does show that it's still kind of a budget bike. Like the brake lever on the right side, the shift lever and pegs shown, well, they're going to be replaced by their owners if they plan to go off road. And I almost forgot, the passenger peg brackets are an accident waiting to happen. Take a look at that length. That lever is just waiting to be bent, if not snapped right off. Well, there you have it. My initial thoughts and opinions based on the video and especially the images we have from South Dakota. Now, I'm sure to spend more time over the coming weeks looking at more footage as it leaks, more photos as it leaks, and actually doing more of a comparison of what I'm seeing here to my own bike. And if anything else strikes me as good, bad, indifferent, special, or plain, I'll be sure to come back here and update you. Well, if you stuck around, I appreciate it, and take care.